Okay, hey everybody, we're doing a vlog today on the vlog channel. I know, fucking weird, right? A few things, because it's been a long-ass time since I did a vlog on the vlog channel. You know, normally when I use the vlog channel, it's just to watch the One Piece 4 Kids dub, or to tell a bullshit story, or something. So that's one thing, we're actually doing a vlog, and the other thing is I can actually curse. If you haven't noticed, back on my main channel, I've been kind of dialing back the cursing just a little bit, just because of the whole monetization thing. To be honest with you, I would probably be alright if I still cursed like I always did, because if you go back through my older videos, I curse like a goddamn fucking sailor. And those videos are still monetized, so I'm sure I would probably be safe, and everything seems to have leveled out with the demonetization shit, but I guess you can never be too careful, so I've been dialing that back a bit, but we can curse on this channel! Fuck yeah! Alright, so, this is a video that I actually wanted to make a while ago, like earlier this month when I actually got this in the mail. But, one thing leads to another, and I just, put it off. But this is gonna be kind of like an emotional ride for me. This is gonna be like a retrospective of my life, which is great because I opened it up with a bunch of cursing, so awesome, This right here is a stack of all of the degrees that I currently have. This is my high school diploma. This is my community college associate's degree I got. And this is my bachelor's degree that I just recently received at the beginning of this month. And so that's really fucking cool that I now have... Like, I have, like, a Triforce over here, It's just, like, the... Whoa, I got my degrees. These are the only degrees that I plan on getting for the moment. I don't plan on going to go get my master's or, like, a PhD or anything. So, where I'm at right now in my life, this is pretty much it. And, this represents, right here, this stack of... I guess plastic and vinyl and pieces of paper. This stack of this stuff right here represents pretty much my entire life. From the time I was like, 5 years old when I went to, actually no, 4 years old is when I started like pre-K, which was more of like a glorified daycare, but I actually did learn some interest. Like, I learned how to use a computer when I was in pre-K or like preschool or something like that. That's when I learned how to use a computer, which I think is a very valuable skill considering I make money off the internet. So, you know what I mean? So even like the old Macs back in like 1990, would have been like 1997. So that was a valuable skill. So since the time I was 4 years old up until now, when I'm 24, so 20 years of my life, that's what these represents. They also represent, all told, probably over $100,000 in money that has been spent. College, particularly, they kill you with that in America anyway. And I went to a private university. I went to a community college, and then I went to an actual, like, a private university, so it was very costly at the end of the day, but, got almost all of that paid off, and YouTube, I have to thank for that incredibly, because, that was really cool that I was able to pay off the vast majority of my college loans basically right out of college. I even won an award for that. There was, like, an award ceremony last year at my college, at my university, I guess, and the head of the comm department, I'm a bachelor's of science, I had a communication degree in like digital media and journalism and stuff. That was what my bachelor's degree is in. My associate's degree is just in like the general studies and like the arts and everything. But yeah, she emails me like, hey, you're getting an award, and I'm like, oh, for what? And she's like, can't tell you for what. So I get up there, and we're up there, and the president of the college comes out, and he's just like, this student receives this award for being he called me a young entrepreneur, I shit you not. And it's like, he funded his college career with a successful YouTube channel, got the president of the university up there, everyone's in their fancy outfits and shit, the president's decked out in like this giant like flowing, because the more degrees you get, and the president is a doctor, he has a PhD, and he has all this extra shit tacked on, and he's like, okay, awesome, and I'm going up there and getting my check and my award and everything, so that was neat. So yeah, I have all that paid off really, but I really just want to discuss if I know I have a lot of fans that are in like middle school and high school. In fact, this was confirmed to me more than ever yesterday when I did a live show on my main channel and I asked, hey, when were you guys born? Because I was doing this thing about dial-up internet. Like if you were born after 2002 or something, you probably don't even remember what the fucking hell of dial-up internet. And so everyone was like spamming their ages. And there was quite a few. I would say the majority that were like over 18, probably closer to my age. And I was born in 1990. I was born in 88 or 1992 or something like that. I was born in 93. So around my age, there was a few people that were a lot older than I expected, in their 30s or 40s, but I saw a decent chunk of people that were probably like in high school or maybe even middle school that were still watching my shit, and I was like, oh wow, that's so interesting, and for that particular audience, I guess this video is aimed more at you than anyone. I just want to talk about like what my schooling was. Not like the whole thing, but like from high school, up until like through college, and how I did things, and maybe how you could avoid the pitfalls that I encountered, right? Because this fucking bachelor's degree, this was like all told over like 6 years. Like I graduated high school in 2011. I started community college in fall of 2011 with the express, purpose of trying to get a bachelor's degree. So I started this quest in fall of 2011, and I did not get this degree in my hands until January 2018. So this was over 6 years. Now, that was not 6 years of constant schooling, and that's what I'm trying to get across here. But let's start with high school, right? Okay, when I was in high school, for some reason we had this incredible drive, the teachers did, or the school did, trying to, like, get kids, like, knowing exactly what they're going to do in their life. Like, I don't know if this was something that was passed down from, like, the powers that be or whatever. I just remember being in high school, and I remember on many different occasions having certain seminars, assemblies. There was an entire class called Futures. Like, the class was literally called Futures, and we had it, like, once a week when I was a sophomore, and the whole purpose of it was try to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. I just remember that being shoved down my throat a few times, and I always remember every single time they was tried to, like, like, what are you gonna do for your entire career? I was just like, I have no fucking idea. I have absolutely no goddamn idea what me, as a fucking 15-year-old kid, a sophomore in high school, wants to do when I'm 38, or when I'm 47, or when I'm about to... I have no idea. I'm focused on what my life's at right now, and I'm still like that. Like, I'm not the kind of guy, whenever someone tells me, what do you think you're gonna be doing in 5 years, Matt? I'm like, I don't fucking... Hopefully I'm not dead or, like, begging for change behind a 7-Eleven. That's what I am, like, I hope where I'm at in 5 years. Not in those situations, or I don't have some debilitating, cancer or something eating away at me. It's one of, like, I avoid those, but beyond that, I don't freaking know. There's so many things that could happen to me in 5 years. So many things that could drastically change the way that you shape your life. So I hate those kind of questions, and I hated it even more when I was in high school, because... Let me tell you a little secret. It's perfectly normal for a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old person to not know or even really care all that much about where they're going to be in 10 years or 15 years or whatever. All right? When I was in school, and you know what? Because it was shoved down my throat so much in school, at least that was the experience I remember, because that was the way it was for me. Every time that I got it brought up, I kind of like actively rebelled against it, because you're a teenager. That's like kind of how you do it. Someone tells you not to do this, you're like, or someone tells you to do something, you're like, screw you, I'm not doing it. And so every time we had that futures class, and it was a bunch of bullshit, it wasn't really much, and they discontinued it after like a year or so. It did not last very long, but it was like this thing where they would hand out these worksheets or whatever, like, if you fill it out this way, then you're more prone to an English-based career. If you fill it out this way, maybe something more engineering would be your goal. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Why? I'm 15. All I give a shit about is going home and playing video games, hanging out with my friends on the weekends, studying for my driver's license test, and hopefully having sex with that girl in the next classroom that I have hots for who doesn't give a shit about me. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. I don't care about this. And so I would just, every time, but I learned to bullshit my way through it, because here's what happened. Kids that openly acted like they didn't give a shit, like, because there were plenty of them. There were plenty of kids that were like, I don't care about this is stupid. They're the ones that they forced it on even more. Like, well, you gotta figure this out. You gotta figure out what you're gonna do in life. So I would just pretend. I would put on a fucking just, every time someone would ask me, what do you want to do in life? I'd be like, I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. That's all what I would say. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, here, do some of this English worksheets. I'm like, fine, sure. And I would fill it out and then just, like grit my teeth and go through it, and then the class would end. I'd be like, all right, later, and then not pay attention to a single thing I filled out. That's how I did it. The one bonus thing about that futures class, though, there was a freaking hot teacher that taught it. It was like a teacher that was like right out of college, so she was like really my age back then. But at the time I was like 15, so like, whoa, wow, a 24-year-old, man, she was hot. Yeah, so that was a cool thing about the class. But that's what I did. I just, every time someone asked me, what do you want to do in life? I'd be like, I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. Didn't really intend. I mean, I like to read. I'm okay with reading. I'm okay with writing. I did pretty good on the state exams for that. Oh, that's another part I got to get into. The standardized testing, which is indicative of all like public school in the United States of America. But yeah, I didn't put any real thought into doing anything up until really I started community college. That's because after high school, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to community college and I'm gonna get all my my gen eds out of the way there. General education is something like if you're like in middle school or high school and you don't really care about this, and this is something that you might not like very much, but I kind of have to break the news for you if you live in the United States. If you live in another country, I can't really help you on that. But if you live in the U.S. and you're like in middle school and you don't know this or something, allow me to break the news to you. When you go through high school and you have like history and a science class and an English class and a math class and all that shit, basically, when you go to college, you have to take all those classes over again. Yeah, like when I was in high school, I had like 2 different algebra classes. As soon as I started college, I had to take a shit ton of algebra classes. And there were plenty of times when I was sitting in class, like, why the fuck do I have to do this? I just did this in high school. Why am I doing this again? Same thing with history. English was different because I dual enrolled English in high school, so I had like a college level English course while I was still in high school. So I kind of got bumped up there when I started college. But it's like every university has like a baseline. So it's like we have to make sure that your level of math and algebra and calculus and all that stuff, I never took calc, but if your level of algebra is not on our level, your high school might have a different level than what we determine as. So you have to like basically take these classes again, even if they're remarkably similar. Like I remember the introduction to algebra class in college was like the exact same thing as my Algebra 2 class I took just a year fucking earlier as a senior in high school. And I'm like, why the fuck am I here? This is just like a waste of time, waste of money, but that's how colleges do it. So if you're in high school and you're like at the baseline, like if you're not taking like dual enrollment courses, which I strongly advise that you do, if you're in high school and just taking like the bare minimum algebra, bare minimum English, be prepared to basically take the exact same class over again once you get into college for your general eds. And no matter what it doesn't matter what your major is. If your major is in nursing, you still need to do that. You still need to go through history, English, math, even though, English might really have nothing to do with your degree. If you're going to be like an engineer or something or a nurse, probably not going to do much with the works of the bard or something, but that's what you have to do. You have to go through that. So that's something to let you know about in high school. It's like dual enroll as much as you can. I dual enrolled in a psychology course and an English course. And so those are basically college level courses you're taking in high school. So that's the case there. But yeah, let's talk about standardized testing, because that's always a fun little topic. Standardized testing, in Pennsylvania, they used to be called the PSSAs, or the Pennsylvania Standardized Test. I forget what it actually stands for now. They don't even have those anymore, though. It's the Keystone exams, I think. Pennsylvania's the Keystone state, so it's the same basic shit. And big thing about standardized tests is that standardized tests determine a public school's funding based on how many kids are doing well and everything like that. You take them periodically throughout your grade school. You know, like I remember taking it like in third grade and then in like eighth grade and then like my junior year of high school. That was like the last one you take when you're a junior in high school. And that one's like a really big thing. I remember distinctly, I had a geometry class when I was a junior, and I remember distinctly walking into geometry, and our teacher, his name was Mr. Gokenauer. He was a great teacher, just kind of on the bland side. He just kind of sat up, went into the front of the room, and just like, all right, forget everything we just learned last week. We have to do this thing for the PSSAs. We have to start with what they're teaching. So I know we were doing something last week, but forget about that. And that's how powerful these things are. It's just like teachers can't teach what they actually want to teach. They have to teach what's in the fucking tests, because if you don't do good on the tests, that's not good for the schools. So that's kind of a problem already. And the PSSAs are focused on 4 main subjects: math, reading, writing, and science. So things like history kind of get pushed off to the side. You don't need to know shit about history. You don't need to know about the fucking Whiskey Rebellion in 1794 and how George Washington led the U.S. Army to stop a bunch of liquor and whiskey, people that were rebelling against the tax in Pennsylvania. The one time that the President of the United States actually led the army into battle as the commander-in-chief. You don't need to know about that. You need to learn about fucking algebra and English. That's what we say is important. It's completely dependent on what you want to do in your life. Maybe I want to become a fucking history teacher, so that kind of screws with my, you know what I mean? But anyway, I remember everyone losing their shit over that. Now, here's the kicker, though, that I remember very distinctly, is that, there's like levels that you get graded. So you do the test at the end of the school year, and then you get your grades over the summer. And there's like below basic, and then proficient, and then advanced. If you score advanced or proficient, you're fine. If you score basic or below basic, you have to take that part of the test again during your senior year. And I remember I failed. I didn't fail because it said basic. I don't consider basic failing. I consider it basic understanding of math, but whatever. I got basic on my math section. I did proficient in science, and I got an advanced on English and reading, on reading and writing. But anyway, yeah, so my senior year, I remember I had like 3 study halls because I had all my classes pretty much done, and the teacher came in and was like, you need to take all 3 of those classes, and you need to be like a special tutoring class to make sure you do well on the PSSAs, on the retake. So that was bullshit, but whatever. I did the test again, and I got a proficient and whatever. So that's just like the bullshit crap I remember about high school, how I don't remember really having any kind of like, I don't remember sitting in high school and being like, I'm really learning stuff that I'm going to use later in life. I remember it just kind of like a trial that I was forced to, like every kid was forced to go through. I wasn't like super emo about it or anything. I'll be honest with you, most of the time, high school is mostly focused on me obsessing over girls that had no interest in me. That was my high school. Like, that's what I can mostly remember strongly about high school. And I kind of regret that, because there are things about high school that are good and things that you can actually use to strengthen yourself later on, like getting involved in a sport or in like an after-school activity or a club or something. Like, looking back on it now, my high school had like a closed circuit television news, like a digital media club kind of thing. We had like a little TV studio and a green screen, cameras and fucking soundboards and shit. It was a studio. And I had a YouTube channel at this point when I was in high school. I started my channel when I was in between sophomore and junior year, but I was too focused on, there's a girl, I was too focused on these girls that I didn't really pay attention to joining anything, and I really wish I would have done that, looking back on it now. So I guess a piece of advice I have is, if you're in middle school or high school, don't obsess over the opposite sex, don't obsess or over the same sex, just don't obsess over having sex or getting with somebody. Like, it's fine, it's normal to want that, but that was like all I was dedicated for in high school. Like, that was it. And it's not like my grades suffered because of it. Everything in high school, I remember not putting a lot of effort into pretty much anything, and yet still, for the most part, getting like a B average in a lot of respects. I was on the honor roll a few times, but I wasn't like in the top 10. I think like every time we got the report cards, we were graded. Like there was like 160 kids in my class. I always ranked like in the 50s or the high 40s or something like that. So I was like average or maybe slightly above average. I just remember not putting a lot of effort into my schoolwork and being perfectly fine. The only time I ever remember actually buckling down and being like, I'm gonna pull an all-nighter, I'm gonna fucking study everything till its heart's content, was in this Spanish class I had. I had a Spanish class where I did really shitty in. I don't know if it was because just I didn't like Spanish or I wasn't like. Here's what we did in the Spanish class. Like it was an intro. It was like Spanish 1, so it was like the first year. It was my freshman year. But all we would do, we would go in every day and we would just have 2 sheets of paper the teacher would give us. One sheet of paper would have nothing but English phrases, and the other sheet of paper would have nothing but Spanish phrases. And we would just match them up. She would like, Matt, what's the English equivalent to line 6? Or Dave, what's the Spanish equivalent to line 19? That's how we would do it. And maybe that worked for some kids, but it did not work for me. I got the lowest grade I ever got on a test in that class. I got a 19. And the reason I got a 19 is because I was doing really poorly. Like the first test, I think I got like a D on, but after that, it was just like fail, 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 fail. You have to get at least a 60 to pass. So every test was like 52 or 49 or whatever. And so I finally said to myself, he's like, you know what? I'm going to finally buckle the fuck down. And I'm going to study, and I'm going to do the best I can. And I did. I studied all night for this Spanish test. The next day, I went in, I felt confident, took the test, and I still failed. I got I still failed. I got like a 58 or whatever. So I thought to myself, well, fuck it. I tried my best, and I still failed. So the next exam, I walked in. I didn't even know we had one. I just walked in like, oh, Matt, there's a test today. I'm like, shit, is there? Okay. And I took that test, and I got a 19 on it because didn't study, didn't give a shit. And that test, the only reason I passed that class is because the teacher literally passed everyone. Passed everybody. I had you get a 60 on a test to get at least a D, but you needed, I think, a 70 to pass the actual class. That was like a C minus. I had a 59 in that class, and I needed a 70 to pass. She spotted me 11 points. That does not happen unless the teacher passes everybody. That does not happen. So she passed me. And I remember her. She retired. She's not there anymore. But I remember her looking at me as like the last day of class. I remember she's like, Matthew, come up to the front. And I went up to the front, and she's like, where do you want to go to college? And I'm like, I'm a fucking freshman. I'm like 15. I'm like, I don't fucking know. But I learned to just spit out an answer. And I said, Penn State. Penn State is Pennsylvania State University. Just the first college that popped into my head. Had no intention of going there. Never even looked into going there. I just spit it out. And I remember her. She looked at my face, and she was just like, you cannot get into Penn State without a foreign language. And I'm like, okay. And then she repeated it. You cannot get into Penn State without a foreign language. And I'm like, all right. And I went and sat back down, feeling like I was sort of yelled at, but not really. Did not take another Spanish class after that. And eventually I did. Eventually, while I was in university, I did have to take another language in order to graduate. So that's true. So look into that as well. It's probably best to get to rip that Band-Aid off in high school rather than doing it like when you're in high school. But I managed to find a way around it. I didn't take a foreign language like I think at my university. At my high school, they offered French and Spanish. That was it. At my university, it was a little bit more broad. They had German, Spanish, French, no Latin or anything like that, but the other one was ASL, which was American Sign Language, and I thought, you know what? That's something that's a little different. American Sign Language, okay. Maybe I'm just not good at remembering foreign languages, but maybe like something with your hands, maybe I can learn that a little easier. And as it turned out, whether it be just because it was slightly different, how are you, or what's your name? I'm kind of out of practice, but this is when I use at Dollar Tree a lot. Like, wait, hold on, what was it? Have a nice day, I think, something like that. So I'm massively out of practice, but that's my point, though. The fact that I can even remember slightly the kind of sign language from a class I took 2 years ago. I remember nothing about Spanish, like hardly anything. Zapatos means shoes. I know that, but that's basically it. So I would say that. I would say, you dive into the things that you are interested in. Like, I was interested in audio-visual shit back in high school, but I didn't join anything. If you like music, join choir or band. If you like a sport, play a sport. Don't worry about people, what they're saying about you. I know high school is bullshit, but, in that regard, it's kind of like a different dimension. It's like this world that you go into where things that do not matter suddenly matter a lot. And I guess my last thoughts on high school, though, the one thing that you got to take away from high school is that it's this magical veil that's instantly lifted as soon as you're graduating and you move on with your life. Whether or not you move on to college or you just go into a trade or whatever, this veil gets lifted. Because things that were so important when you were in high school suddenly just stop being relevant and you can move on the fuck with your life. Oh, there are still things that are drama related in real life. That's never going to go away. There's going to be drama in places where you work. There's going to be drama in your little friend circle. But in high school, it's like amped up to 11. Like, did you hear who had sex last night? Did you hear who did drugs? Did you hear who mouthed off to the teacher? Like, all that bullshit that mattered so much in high school, it just gets like oh, you're a fucking dork because you're doing this or whatever. That just gets lifted when you're in the real world. So that's something that's kind of positive I can give you as something at the end of the day. But, yeah. Now, with college, like I said, the general studies thing, that's kind of a hurdle you got to go through. Kind of everybody has to go through it. But something else in college is I can't really give you a lot of advice, because the thing is, even though I was in college for 6 years, my college experience is, to me, it doesn't feel like a real college experience. I went to community college for 2 years. The community college was not even really a big building. There was like a main campus building, but then there was like a bunch of like branch offices. And the branch office I went to, it was really close to my house, but it was literally like an old grocery store that they converted into a college. So all it was like there were 10 classrooms and then like a lounge area, which was pretty nice. It had like a nice couch and some chairs and a fridge and a TV and a pool table. That was cool, but that was like all it was. And like a library with some computers and no books, and that was it. So I can't, because you grow up and you hear about like, this is college. You see the movies and kids going like they're moving out of their house and they're getting a dorm and there's this big huge new world for them. I didn't have that. I never lived in a dorm. The community college, of course, did not offer dorms, and the university I went to was also very close to where I lived. That was more of a money issue, though, because getting a dorm costs, like, at the university I went to, it was an extra 10 grand a year if you're going to live on campus. So just to save money, I commuted. Like, why wouldn't I do that? It was only like a 25, 30-minute drive from my house. So I don't really have those experiences. I never joined a fraternity. I never, went to like a crazy fucking college party. I don't have that. I never had those experiences. So looking back on my school, I kind of wanted like, man, I wish I could go back to high school and like join a club. Man, I wish I could go back to like college and like, sometimes I really did wish I lived on campus. Not really, because I wouldn't have been able to do the YouTube thing to the level I did on campus. My YouTube thing was also something that constantly kind of was at odds with college. When I graduated my community college, I graduated in May of 2013. I said to my mom, he's like, okay, here's the plan. I'm going to take the fall semester off, fall of 2013 off, and then I'm going to go back to school in the spring of 2014. That was my plan. That didn't work out so well because I ended up focusing more and more on my YouTube thing. And I didn't end up going back to school. I didn't end up going to my university until fall of 2014. So I was out of school for over a year. I was out of school for like 15 months. But I don't regret that in the slightest, because for those 15 months, I just threw all my time and energy into my YouTube channel. And my part-time job. And in that time span, that's when I first hit like 10,000 subs on my channel, and that's when I started making like some chump change, like not a lot of money, but I was making like maybe $100 or something like every month. Like I was getting something for it. So I don't regret that. But basically it came to at odds with my mom. She was basically like, hey, okay, you're either going back to school or you're getting a full-time job. Pick one. And I was like, okay, well, we're definitely not doing the full-time job thing because I really want to make this. I think this YouTube thing can definitely pay off eventually. I just need a little bit more time. It's going to take a while, but I think I'm making progress. Slow progress, but I'm making progress. And so I finally was like, all right, I'll go back to school. And so I looked into the university, and I didn't think we would be able to pay for it. But we ended up being lucky. My mom was a single parent at this point. My parents were divorced, which that's actually very handy. I wouldn't recommend that as a piece of advice, but if your parents are divorced and you're living with like a single parent or something, you can get way, way high amounts of financial aid on that one. And because of that, and because of some other things, my mom knew somebody that worked in the admissions and like financial aid department that helped us out, get basically as much as aid as I could possibly get. And we had to take out loans, of course, but I was able to go, thankfully. And it was not a cheap university that I went to. The tuition's even higher now, but when I went, it was around $32,000 a year, and that was without the dormitory. If I was living on campus, it'd be around $40,000 a year. But it's even higher now. But thankfully, thanks to my mom and taking out some loans and my YouTube that really took off really well, that was able to pay off a lot of this shit. I'm pretty much all paid off on my university. I have like one more thing I have to pay for, and that's it, and I'm done. So that's pretty cool. And if you live in another country that doesn't have to deal with all this bullshit with paying an ass amount for college, good job. I guess you got lucky. But in America, it is not that simple. Not even like that. And that was a private university. But even if you're going, like my friend Casey went to just a state university, and that was still a lot of money. But when I went to my university, though, I didn't live in a dorm. I didn't have the typical college experience, but I at least was a little bit more active on campus, because that's something they do on campus. They do this, and you know what? It makes more sense in campus for them to shove that down your throat. Not just like, what are you going to do? Because at that point in your life, when you're in college and you got to declare a major and everything, maybe you should have a better idea of what you maybe not want to do your entire life. I don't think anybody can know that, but at least what you want to do in the next few years after you get out of college. Like, what do you want to get your degree in? Like, for instance, the whole communication thing, I didn't decide on this until like 2014. I got my Associates of Arts thing when I was at community college, and then while that 15 months I thought about what I actually want to go to school for. I thought about going just to straight up film school. My one friend that I went to a community college with, she actually she told me maybe you should go to a college for a communication degree, because she said, film school, that's kind of a very specific thing. But if you get a comm degree, that's something that may be a little bit more broad, that opens you up. Like a film school degree, I guess, really only allows you to certain things. But if I got a comm degree, I'd be able to do things like journalism and work at like a news station or something, which I interned at a news station last year, and it was a very interesting experience. I did like the industry, so I would be totally fine with maybe doing something like that later in my life. My dream job, though, like let's say the YouTube thing doesn't, like best case scenario, the YouTube thing, I do really good on it. I end up getting like over 1 million subs. I'm making decent money, and I can live out the rest. I could save my money and I use it in a smart way, and I can live the rest of my life on that. I have no idea what the shelf life of YouTube will be. The idea of thinking of what the internet and what YouTube will be like in like 30 or 40 years is scary to me. I have no idea what that would be. But let's just say that all works out. That's my dream. That's number one. But if that doesn't work out, if it looks like, or maybe I get tired of it at some point, like I can't see that now. But once again, I don't know where my life's going to be in 5 or 10 years. I was thinking something journalism, but what I would like to do, late night talk show host. That's something I love, watching late night talk show. My favorite was the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson on CBS. He no longer does it. He finished it out in 2014. He did it for 10 years. But the idea of, you're not a straight up journalist. You're not like sitting there reading the news every day. You can kind of have a free form to do it in your own style. You have your show, which you can kind of craft in your own light, and you get to meet celebrities and musicians every night, and you get to have all these connections, and it's just kind of like your own little world, like, welcome to the Late Late Show with Matthew Crawford. Today I'm interviewing, I don't know, fucking Johnny Depp's son. I don't know. Something like that is like, that's something that I really would be cool with. That would be something like maybe later on in my life, when I'm in like my 40s or 50s, I'm a fucking late night talk show host. I would love that. That would seem really cool to me. But yeah, so that's why I went for the comm degree. So that was really I really have to thank my friend for that, back in community college, for giving me this push, because that's really what it was. She told me, and I went ahead with it. Her name, I'm not gonna give her her real name. Her name was, let's say, Addie. Let's call her Addie, Addy. And because her name did actually start with the letter A, and she had double D boobs. So I'll call her Addie. Maybe it was the boobs. Shit, thinking back, maybe it was just like, Matt, you should go get a comm degree, and I was just paying attention to her boobs the entire time, like, yeah, sure. Damn it. So boobs drive my every action. That you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm cool with this. Um no, that's not the reason. I really did put it. I seriously did put a decent amount of thought into it. Um but while I was in school at university, I did hang out on campus a lot more, even though I didn't live there. I joined a lot of clubs. I was I was the president of the anime club there, which was like a new thing. I helped out with this thing called like the Multicultural Fair. I was on the newspaper. I was with a radio station for a little while, helping out with that. Kind of part of the gaming club, like a video gaming club, but I didn't really show up that often. I was there a few times. But I was more active at university than I was at like community college or in high school. And I wish maybe I was active a little bit more. But the thing is, and I guess I'm wrapping this up now, is that part of my life is over now. And that's the thing that you really kind of gotta grasp, is I'm done with school. I'm done with grade school and high school, and I'm done with college. I'm done. Just straight up done. Like, I guess I could always go back for a master's at some point, but I have no desire to do that for right now. So it's a weird fucking feeling when you spend like the last 20 years of my life in school, and now I'm done, and I don't really know what's next. I'm very confident where I'm at right now. Like, financially, I'm fine. Like, I'm not freaking out. Like, I lucked out really, really well on that. There are my friends that recently graduated college that were working as like a waitress at like Outback Steakhouse. And it's like, yay, I got my degree, but I'm working as a fucking waitress at Outback Steakhouse. And they're in very dire financial straits, and it's like, we have to move away and find a job with the degree, and I'm very fortunate that I don't really have to worry about that initially, because I've been making decent money off YouTube for a while now. But my next step, I guess, would be to move out of my mom's house. That would probably be a thing. Because I stayed here because of that's something else for college loans, by the way. If you're living with your parents still, that's also a big bonus. That's another reason that helped me out with the financial aid thing. People asked me for so many years. People asked me, like, why, if you're making so much money off YouTube, why are you still living with your parents? I'm like, well, I'm not making a tremendous amount of money off YouTube, for one, and also if I moved out, it would be more money for college, and even if I am making decent money off YouTube, why would I go out of my way to spend more money for college? Like, what's the point of that? So that's why I'm still here. But now I'm done, so I can be looking. I've been looking for places. I don't know when I'm gonna move out or anything, but I do need a lot more room to do my YouTube thing. I would like my own room for my YouTube channel instead of my bedroom. I would like to have a big basement for me to deck out into like a proper fucking studio instead of my parents' sunroom. Getting a girlfriend would probably be nice, but that's not like my first thing at the moment. I have other shit on the mind. Eventually I'm gonna have to quit Dollar Tree, which people ask me, why do you still work at Dollar Tree? Honestly, that is really more for my sanity, because if I didn't work at Dollar Tree, I just did YouTube, that's all I did, I feel like I would be inside my house just hunched over my computer all the time, and that's not good. I need something to get me out of the house and socialize with people. I need to kind of have that in my life. So it's not because of the money. It's really just for my own sanity. I don't want to be the guy it's like, yeah, I'm just living in my house all the time, just doing fucking YouTube 24/7, barely see the sun, I need to get out. I need to do things, and that's why I'm still there. And I love the people I work with. It's a great bunch of people. I really do enjoy the crowd of people I work with. All my managers and my coworkers are great, and they're my friends, and I really do consider them like a second family. If that's really sad, then fine, but they are. I've been there for 6 years now, so. But, I'll tell you what, though. I was up at my university just about a month ago. I was there to finish up some things for my diploma. And I ran into one of my professors, and he was probably my favorite professor up there. He taught like an editing course. He taught mostly like journalism in the sense of like newspaper kind of journalism. He taught a lot of classes with that and like writing and stuff. And he was probably my favorite professor. And he asked me, of course, what are you going to do next with your life? What's next? And I said, I was honest with him. I didn't come up with a bullshit answer. I didn't say, I'm going to be a writer, or I'm going to go here or do this thing that I'm not really sure I want to do. I told him straight up. I said, you know what? I really don't know, but I'll tell you what, this is the first time in my life that I actually feel kind of free to do whatever. It's like the future's open. I'm only 24 years old. Well, I guess 25, so I'm getting up there. But I'm 25 years old. I'm financially secure at the moment. And my career for the future on YouTube anyway seems very bright. It doesn't seem like I'm declining at all. I'm rising pretty high, so everything on that end seems good. Maybe I'll travel, maybe I'll move out. I'm not sure, but I feel genuinely kind of free to do whatever. So that's what I told him, and I felt kind of happy about that. I didn't have to lie about it. I could just yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. And I'm fine with that. People ask me now, customers that come into Dollar Tree that know me, that have been regular customers. So Matt, did you finally get that degree? And I'm like, yep, finally got it. I'm like, awesome. So what are you gonna do now? Where are you gonna work? I'm like, I have no idea. And they look a little dejected. Maybe it's like, well, why did you get the degree? I was like, look, this is the thing. This is the thing. Then I guess I'll end it on this. When I first went to go get this degree in like 2014, when I went to university. My YouTube channel wasn't hardly big enough. I didn't know it was going to get big. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make decent money off of it or anything. And halfway through getting this, it did. And a lot of people, like my mom, even my own advisor, even asked me at one point, well, you seem rather blasé or rather dejected to get this degree. You seem more focused on just doing your YouTube thing. My mom, I've even gotten fights with my mom on a few occasions because the last year I really dragged this out. Like I had to finish up 2 classes, and I really dragged my feet with those last 2 classes I had to take. And my mom, even me, got in fights, and she's like, "Why did you even go to the university? Why did you even try to get the degree if you're not gonna? Why did you even try to get the degree if you're not gonna get it?" And I kept telling her, "I will get it, but I'll get it when it works for me with my schedule." And she wasn't happy about that, but I got it. And this is more important to me than just a bachelor degree in science and communications or whatever. This is important to me because I followed through with this. I fucking followed through with this. Even though I was doing something that was making decent money, that had a bright future, that didn't require a degree at all. You don't need a degree to be a YouTuber. It can be anybody. Even though it is entirely possible. I'm not saying this is the case, but it is entirely possible that I might go the rest of my life and never need this once. Probably not, but it's possible. But even if that was the case, I am glad that I went through it and I got this. I was going to say I suffered. I didn't suffer. It was an experience. I enjoyed it. And I'm glad I actually went through and finished it up and got this, because I know for a fact that even if I didn't get this, even if I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to drop out. I'm doing good on YouTube. I don't need this. You just don't know. YouTube could fail. My channel could get deleted for some reason. YouTube could, because you never know with YouTube. YouTube, 5 years from now, YouTube could enact a policy like, no more anime on YouTube. I'd be like, well, shit, I'm fucked. So I'm like, just for the sake of that, and I don't know what the future will bring, I'm gonna get this fucking thing. And I got this fucking thing. Alright, so I'm happy with that, and I'm content with that. And, right now, where I'm at in my life, I don't need this. But 5-10 years from now, any number of things can happen, and I'm probably going to need this if that's the case. So, I'll end it out there. It's a long video, but I think I needed to get my thoughts out on this and maybe give some advice for people, and that was like my college journey. So I hope you enjoyed this. And maybe took away something from it. I don't know. Or maybe you were listening to this while you were playing fucking Call of Duty or Halo or some shit. Like, something to have on in the background. In which case, that was a fucking awesome kill streak bonus, man. You need to fucking do that again, but you need to record it. That was awesome. Alright, you guys have a good night. Teching, signing out.